unit, battalion, whatever it would be. No. The army philosophy is you've got a gun. You don't need that much hand-to-hand experience. And even the special forces lads that I've taught, even they don't do an awful lot of it. They have a thirst for it, but it's just not taught to anywhere near the level that people are purporting. I know this because I used to teach it, and it's a struggle to find the time, to find the space, and indeed instructors, because they're just not out there.
Right. So how did you meet Master Edwards, and how did you initially get involved with the BKMO organisation?
Well, Wayne and I met back, we think, 2006, where we compete together at my first World Championships, and indeed I ended up looking for him. His demo guy was broken, and I stepped in, and we met then, competed together, and we've remained pretty good friends since. The BKMO involvement is fairly recent. It's something we've been talking about for a good number of years, and it's great to see that he's finally got it off the ground, and it's doing as well as it is. My involvement with it is purely to assist in what's already a great system, and come in and teach a slightly different aspect from a slightly different background. What's unique about BKMO over an awful lot of these other zero-hero systems is Wayne definitely recognises that it's a better idea to bring subject matter experts in on given areas, specific areas, and have them teach those specific areas, rather than trying to develop one teacher that teaches everything all the time, because it's impossible to know everything. Martial arts is constantly evolving, isn't it?
Exactly. So you would say that Master Edwards has got the right idea, going for seasoned martial artists as the right template to work from to develop what we're trying to do.
Definitely. Because most definitely. You know, I wouldn't be here now if I didn't believe in what he's doing. And I liken it to, you know, if you have a puncture in your car, you don't take it to the local restaurant to get a puncture fixed by a guy at the back. You take it to a mechanic who knows what he's doing. It's a similar situation here. If you want to learn a given set of skills, find a subject matter expert whose thing is those skills, and invite him down to teach that very thing. Take from it what you will or won't, and develop it into your system. And that's essentially what the BKMO is, in my eyes.
Right. Okay. There are a few instructors out there who have done these short courses. For example, in 2002, when Krav Maga was in its infant stages in England, who are now claiming to be an authority of self-defense, yet not having any significant martial arts experience prior, but claim their British military experience made them eligible to teach after a short course. Would you agree with that? Because this seems to be a topic for people who are neutral, don't understand, hearing this and thinking, oh, there must be some credibility into it.
Well, firstly, how you doing? To answer the sort of first part of it, to say that your British military experience makes you a self-defense expert is a lot of poppycock, basically. Being a self-defense expert makes you a self-defense expert. Being in the military does not make you a self-defense expert. It makes you a very good British soldier. With regard to people who've been doing it for a couple of years and now say that they talk about Krav Maga being the hot topic self-defense thing, Krav Maga in its own right is not a martial art. It's a combative fighting system. It was designed for Israeli special forces.
So people who are trained to fight are obviously...
are trained further to fight more.
Right.
They're not necessarily martial artists. The whole system was based around teaching soldiers how to kill another human being with bare hands. We obviously don't do that in civilized society. So to use that as your basis for your argument, and indeed your eligibility, I would seriously doubt it. Having done 25 years in the military myself, And having never experienced any Krav Maga anywhere, and I've deployed all over the world with many, many units, and never ever have I sampled Krav Maga anywhere.
Right. And obviously, being a martial artist, competing on the highest level, fighting internationally, in the World Championship team representing Scotland, Great Britain, you've seen obviously on the mats the fighting. Would you say that somebody of a world title stature, Master Edwards has been the world champion, a bronze medalist, I've been a world champion, and the people that we've brought together to help to form the BKMO are all of this high caliber. Would you agree that that is the nearest basis you'd get to reality? Because obviously being on the mat, that combat, and obviously fighting people from different countries and all that, would prepare you more than somebody who say who've been in the police force, never had no one-on-one, and never been in the heat of real battle.
Well, to a degree, yes. I mean, self-defense is completely unique. It's not something you can train in at full pace, because if you do, somebody gets seriously hurt. It's the whole point of the thing. However, going to things like World Championship self-defense competitions, that's probably about the nearest you're ever going to get to 100% effort and realism without actually getting into a proper fight and seriously hurting another individual. Again, to go back to the military thing and talk about people who've been doing it for a couple of years and have been teaching and done the 0 to Hero courses, I can't understand how they can purport to be any more proficient, yeah, or serious an individual about Krav Maga than yourself or Wayne, or indeed anybody that learns Krav Maga here. There's only so much you can do in self-defense before somebody gets really hurt. The only way you can truly test it without seriously hurting somebody is to compete, and compete at a level in which the other nations, the other people that are competing with you, are also at, because everybody wants to win. So you compete in the knowledge that you're trying your very best, and you're applying the techniques to probably the most severe level you can, knowing that the other person knows what's coming and is able to not get broken. Mm-hmm. To suggest, police officers and people who've no offence to anybody, who've not pressure tested these techniques, and there are an awful lot of martial arts instructors out there who have never pressure tested any of the techniques they teach, but profess to be able to perform this technique against everybody and it never fails. How do you truly know a technique's any good unless you actually apply it correctly and pressure test the thing? It's the only way to know whether a technique is a viable self-defense technique.
Okay, so what do you think of a British Krav Maga program mapped from a popular Krav Maga syllabus but broken down and taught by specialists? I thought it is an interesting idea of an easy to learn curriculum for self-defense and bringing in specialists to ensure quality of instruction. What would be your take on that?
Well, again, I kind of sort of defer to my previous answers. The idea of a British Krav Maga system, why not? Simply, forming an organisation and call it British does not take away from Krav Maga in any way, shape or form. It indicates that the people doing it are generally of British nationality. Not an awful lot more than that in my eyes. Mm-hmm. With regard forming a syllabus and working through a structured program, I 100% agree with that. Keeping it simple, bringing in subject matter experts, it's all the things that traditional martial artists have been doing for centuries before us. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Find subject matter experts, like we've discussed, and have them come along and teach good, solid technique through a structured syllabus, because that's important. And don't overcomplicate things. Too many people these days want to overcomplicate their techniques and do things that look good or they've seen in the movies. And more often than not, as you see with BKMO, certainly, the simpler and more simplistic the technique is, the more effective it is. Because at the end of the day, this is self-defense. The aim of the job at hand is to prevent the other person hurting it, so you're able to escape.
Correct.
And it's no more than that.
I agree with that entirely. Well, that's been fantastic. Thank you for your time, Sean, and it's been a pleasure working with you. Pleasure interviewing you, and I look forward to seeing you at the top.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thank you.
Excellent.